Welcome to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple: to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So, stay with us as right now we present. Have you ever thought about, walking on a pilgrimage of going 500 miles? I have thought about that, and no, I'm not going to do that. But our guest today has Kathleen Donnelly Israel is with us. She's written the book Wisdom on the Camino, a spiritual journey sharing forgiveness and possibilities to inspire the rest of your life. It came out in 2021, and it's been doing very well. It's been a bestseller in 3 different categories, and Kathleen is with us right now. And by the way, in case you're listening to this at a later date, this is Good Friday, 2022, 2022 and 2023. Goodness gracious.
You're as bad as me.
Boy, no kidding. And it's just one of those dates. And so Kathleen is taking her time away from her Bible to talk to us, and I'm very grateful for that. Kathleen, how are you today?
Oh, I'm very fine, thank you. I'm happy to be here, Kevin.
Well, I'm happy to have you here. It's not very often that somebody who's been on the planet as long as you and I have to embark upon a lifetime journey and then wrote a book about it. And I think it's great that you've done what you're doing, and I just found out that you've got another book coming.
Right. If I can get my way through it. The first book was such a joy to write, and I'm like having difficulty with this second one. Anyway.
Well, you'll get it together. You'll figure it out, and it'll be a bestseller as well, I'm sure. So
I hope so.
So let's talk about the Camino. What is, for those of you who, and those of us who may not have any idea what that 500-mile walk is, describe it for us. What is it about?
It's a pilgrimage. It started in the 1200s, actually in the 900s. The Spanish were trying to get the Moors out of Spain, and St. James appeared and helped them get the Moors out of Spain, and and anyway, it worked, and so everybody really liked St. James after that. And so they found his grave. It is like the St. James, which was the apostle of Jesus, actually. He had gone, after Jesus died, he had gone to the Iberian Peninsula to tell people about Jesus, and he didn't do very well. People weren't very accepting, so he went back to Jerusalem and he got martyred. And then the angels, I'm sure it was people with the angels' help, brought him back to Spain and buried him there. And so that's why his grave is there. And so they started having pilgrimages to his grave, and then they built a giant cathedral around his grave, and you can like go in there and, they have a statue. You can kiss the statue if you want to. Anyway, the pilgrimage that I went on the first time was from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France, over the Pyrenees, and then on to Santiago, Spain, almost 500 miles.
I wanted to ask you, because I'm not familiar with this part of the story. What was James, and he became, of course, St. James. What was he martyred for?
Oh, I don't know. Probably just liking Jesus. That's what they used to do back then. It was entertainment, actually, for gosh sakes. But people who like Jesus, I mean, they killed Jesus, right? Because they was trying to get rid of that idea for the people. And then here comes the apostles, and they got martyred too.
Now, do we know, was he killed by the Romans at the time, or?
I don't know. That wasn't part of the story that I read.
Oh, okay.
So I really don't know.
Well, it was, it was a brand new religion at the time. It was talking about a guy that had been crucified as a criminal, and
Right.
and to uphold him um as the son of God would have been, for a lot of people at that time, blasphemy.
For the Jews, for Jews, I'm sure the Romans, well, of course, they were quite imperialist, so they didn't like anybody else saying they were a king, either. I mean, they had that, but, I think the Jews, they were not accepting of you know, of that. A lot of the prophets in the past, I mean, they were, like, killed for telling people what God told them to tell them, you know? And, and so it's just historical that they would do that. Um,
Which I'm glad they don't do that today.
Not too often, but, there's stuff going on in the world that is killing, and it's just wrong.
It would be really nice if we wouldn't do that anymore to each other. That's one of the things that we talk about, um, on Positive Talk Radio, is that we all need to get along and work together. By the way, just so everybody knows, if you because I'm looking it up on Google, St. James died in 44 CE of the Common Era, July 25th, and
Wow,
is
they keep
and oh,
records.
yes. Well, his death was the only apostle whose martyrdom is recorded in the New Testament, Acts
Mm.
12:2.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and Saint Peter is a member,
Did they
and oh
stone him or something?
nah, he lost his head.
Oh, he lost his head. Oh god.
King Herod,
Mm,
King Herod Agrippa of Judea, according to Spanish tradition.
mm.
Then his body was taken to Santiago de
Compostela?
Com. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, so, Santiago Saint James. That's the name of Iago is a form of James in Spanish.
Oh, I had no idea. I don't speak Spanish, sadly.
Yeah,
I
so I
hardly
live
speak
in San
English.
Diego, so Diego is a form of James also, but Iago is a form of James also.
So I got to ask you, what was your? Now I know that you were a caretaker for your husband for many years
Yeah,
before he
caregiver.
passed away, a caregiver. Is
Yeah.
that's not what I said? What did I say?
You said caretaker. I
Oh,
wasn't taking it all. I was giving the whole time.
yes, you were, and he had
I
Parkinson's.
Yes, poor guy. He was an athlete and he got Parkinson's disease. Oh my god.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
horrible part of life, I'm afraid. But you took care of him for a long time,
Mhm.
when he passed away, then you decided to go on this trip right away, or was it a little while?
Yeah, well, he died in 2018, but in 2013, my girlfriend walked the Camino and she, shared it on Facebook. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's what I'm going to do when Ron is done with his illness. I'm going to walk the Camino. So my dream of what Ron and I would do in our old age was sort of dashed. And, I thought he was an athlete. I thought we would be riding our bicycles across France or something. And, when he got sick, it was like, "Okay, well, that's not what's gonna happen here." And so I had to make another dream for myself.
That is so hard for especially an athlete who
Mhm.
has had a strong body his whole life, and then to have that disease and to slowly fade away.
Yeah, it was quite slow, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I know he's in a better place today.
Yeah.
And, in 30 or 40 years, you're gonna get to join him.
Yeah, that's what my nephew said. "Okay, Aunt Kathy, no death, no dying for at least 10 years." So I think I'll maybe double that or triple that. I
Well,
don't
if
know.
you how old were you when you went on it wasn't that long ago, So
Yeah.
when you
I
went on the
was
500,
69 when I started walking. I had my 70th birthday on the Camino.
that is nothing short of amazing. Now, did you go on this trip alone, or did you have people with you?
I went alone. Of course, I have my guardian angels that went with me, so I wasn't afraid. A lot of people go alone, and I had read quite extensively about it, and seemed like a lot of people go alone. Actually, if you are going to walk that far, either if you go with someone, they're either going to have to walk slow for you or you're going to have to walk slow for them,
True.
because nobody walks the same amount of fast. And so you might as well go alone and then you just meet people along the way.
That's pretty cool. Can you describe some of the people that you met? And I know they're in the book, but
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
favorite story of somebody that you met along the way?
Oh, well, it was, the first night I stayed at, the Bellari in Saint Jean, but the second night, it was snowing on the Pyrenees, so we had to walk around the Pyrenees, which was quite hilly also, and I stayed at, Val Carlos, and then when I went in, to this albergue, this guy looked at me and he said, "Oh, I have a new friend here, and he is so sad." So I went over and sat next to him, and I said, "Why are you so sad?" And he told me that three of his friends had died in rapid succession, and he just felt like he couldn't do his life anymore. He was so sad. And so, well, I said, "Well, I know what you're talking about. My husband died in August, and my mother died in December." And so I think we have something in common. And he was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he was all over how sorry he was about my loss. And so that's kind of like how you meet people on the Camino is you share why you're there. And a lot of times people have a brokenness in their life and they will go to the Camino just to do a 500-mile walking meditation so that, they can maybe put themselves back together and have some experiences.
Well, I got to ask you, did you plan how many miles you're going to walk a day and what, and you used a term for where you could stay at night. What do you call that
Yeah,
again?
the albergues. Um, yeah, they have albergues all along the way, and they there's a lot of them, and it's actually a large part of the economy in northern Spain. But like it's very cheap to stay there, but still they make some money doing that. Um, and so it's just a big room with a lot of bunk beds and a bathroom and a kitchen. And like if there's a grocery store in town, then there's a kitchen usually and with, pots and pans and everything to make your food. And then sometimes they'll have a restaurant in town that will have a pilgrim menu, and it's about 11 euros. So that's really cheap. And then if there's no restaurant or any grocery store in town, then the albergue will provide the food, and you just pay them some extra to, go there. But I used to walk with my friend down at the bay here in San Diego. I'd walk 5 miles 3 days a week with my friend Severa. And so I just thought, well, 5 miles doesn't even make me sweat. I can walk 5 miles. So I figure I'll just walk 5 miles before lunch and 5 miles after lunch, and I can do this. So that's what
That's has anybody like your friends and family have they have they looked at you and said, "Boy, Kathleen, that took a lot of guts, and are you nuts?"
my family was very supportive. I actually have a niece who has walked the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Rim Trail or Pacific Coast Trail all by herself. Well, I think maybe she met some people along the way. so they were very supportive of me. I think my family, they were just happy that I wanted to do something, you
Yeah.
know, and they didn't think I couldn't do it, you know. They 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 were like, "Okay, mom, good." You know, my daughter made a WhatsApp. She called it Mom's Walkabout Check-in. And so I would, go in there and check in with them every day, or maybe not every day. And every once in a while it would be like, "Okay, mom, where are you? What are you doing?" And then oh yeah, I would got busy. I didn't check in, but
I think that's
and
wonderful that your family cared enough to do that and to make sure that even though they weren't with you, they were with you, and
yeah.
they made sure that you were in communication so that my kids do that to me today. It's
Mhm.
like if I don't hear from you, Dad, we're gonna call like the cavalry and they're gonna come break down the door of your house to see if you're okay. So
Right,
it's
right.
nice to have a family like that.
Mhm.
So
Y
what when you decided is was this something that bef prior to your husband passing, was this something that you and he were going to do together? Or
no.
did this kind of just how did you discover it? How did you decide that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, there's that movie, The Way, and of course I saw that. But I had forgotten about it, and then when my friend Judy walked the Camino, um, she shared about it on Facebook, and even though she had blisters and bloody feet, and she showed us pictures of her poor bloody feet, um, I just recognized she was doing something very special for herself, and I thought, I'm going to do that too. That's what I'm going to do.
Did you consider that while you were doing it and you were walking alone and in kind of a meditative state? Did you consider that a very spiritual experience?
Absolutely. And I'm an artist also. And so, gee, the art on the Camino, you go into these little chapels and they've got this beautiful artwork. And oh my gosh, it just, some of it would just make you cry. It's so beautiful. And it was very interesting. They had like, you could tell the really ancient statues of Mary holding the baby Jesus, because they were like took a tree trunk, it was like they didn't it was very, big, they didn't dig out too much when they carved it. And so, when you saw something like that, you knew it was, like, from the 1200s,
Way
and
back when, because they didn't
yeah,
have all
yeah,
the equipment that they have now to
yeah,
make it smaller and all that kind of thing, but, you know, it's interesting because I live in the United States, you live in San Diego, I live in Seattle,
mm,
and we're new. Now not San Diego because you've got older buildings there because of
right.
when the Spanish were there. In my area, everything is new. I can't imagine go walking into a building that was built in the 1200s.
Right, right. Yeah, in Pomferada, I went into they have a castle there from way back when, and it was really amazing. The thing is that, a lot of, the buildings that have stayed are buildings that have been renovated, you know?
Right.
And also, what was really cool about when just walking along through neighborhoods, you would see a wall of a building, and it was obviously very old. The bricks were not lined up, and it was very old. And then built right onto that was a modern building with straight bricks, and so they didn't throw away their old stuff. They just added on to it, and it was really amazing. I thought it was amazing.
Well, every person, every building has its own story,
Mhm.
and so you don't want to destroy the stories of people, and some of these people go back a long, 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 long way. So, and it took you. So, how long did it take you to do the entire Camino?
Um, it was I was on the Camino Frances, I was on there for 66 days. Now, nobody takes that long, but I took Holy Week off. That was the most amazing experience in my life, I think. Those Spanish people know how to do the Passion of Christ, you know.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I took Holy Week off and I got sick a few times. I had been taking care of my husband, so my health was not really that good. When you take care of somebody who is dying for as long as I did, you're actually walking into death with them,
You
you
bet.
know?
You bet. Well, you
And
can't do things like you would normally do them if he was, as an example, being a former athlete and he was healthy,
right.
and you guys would be riding bikes or you'd be doing other things. But if he can't do it and you take care of him, then you can't do it either.
Right. And I was very fortunate. The Here in San Diego, we have the Southern Caregivers, and they actually sent Ron to a nursing home for 2 days every year and let me go take a vacation for 2 days. So that was really very nice. That was very restorative. And actually, Ron had his brains about him the whole time. I mean, the doctor told me because he is, he can't move, uh, that I couldn't leave him ever. I had to have somebody with him.
Oh wow.
Uh, what they said was he has to be able to get out of the house. You know, it's dangerous to leave him in here. There was a fire or something. And so I he was, it was amazing. He actually set himself up to be disabled before he was totally disabled. He put his chair right here, the TV was right here, the bathroom was right there, and he had it all lined up so that he could be an invalid. And he did it himself. And then, so what I did was I had a door put in the bedroom and a deck put out there so he could actually get out. He could pull himself out if he needed to. And and I put one of those bicycle exercise thing
Yeah.
out there. And so I used to help him go out there and he could ride his bicycle out in the sun. Um, so
It sounds like even though it was a debilitating disease and it takes no prisoners, that he did okay.
Yeah, you know what? He was a happy man. Can you imagine being a caregiver to a happy man? That that
Well,
was
I hope somebody gets a chance to find out for me.
y Yeah, I mean, some people get mean, but, he did not. He was a happy man, when he, was ill. And even, like, just a few weeks before he died, USD sent him a survey about um, happiness survey, I guess it was. And he told me, I mean, he couldn't talk, but he indicated that he wanted to fill it out. He didn't want me to fill it out. So he filled it out and I read it before he wanted me to send it in. And it all the things happy, 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 happy. So he was a happy man.
Well, that's really good, and the reason he was partially was that he was being well cared for, and you did
Yeah, he
everything
loved
for him.
being waited on hand and foot by me. He
I
loved that.
I can only I can only imagine.
I was his wealth, you know?
Yes, indeed. And
Mhm.
so after he passes, and then you go on the trip, and it
Mhm.
takes 66 days
Right.
to go 500 miles, which is not inconsequential, by the way. That's a
Well,
long
if
way.
if you add it up, if you're gonna go 500 miles, you're gonna walk 10 miles a day, it's gonna take you 50 days.
Right.
But then, I took Holy Week off and then um
We're sick
and
a couple
really
times.
yeah, and really after a while, I noticed that I walked the whole 10 miles before lunch. And then I thought, "Oh, I guess I'm getting buff just walking here," And so I had to start walking further. And so, you know, that was good.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at the cover of your book, by the way, which is really, really cool. And you
Mhm.
you are walking with a backpack. How much
Right.
did that backpack weigh?
Probably about, uh, um, you know what? I don't even know. Probably like 10 pounds or something. I mean, I get confused. I think it was 10 kilos. Yeah, that's what it was. Kilos. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's I don't know
Yeah, me
kilos,
too. It's
but
3/5 or something, but anyway,
I think they're
whatever
like
it is.
15 or 20. That'd be 15 or 20 pounds.
Mhm.
And then that just had clothes and stuff in it.
Yeah, I probably took some stuff I shouldn't have taken, and actually when I got to Astorga, I sent home a kilo and a half of stuff that I thought, yeah, I really didn't need that. But yeah, I had everything all, I had my clothes. So I had the clothes I had on, and then I had two sets of clothes. And I actually what I did was I laid out my shirt, I laid out my pants, I laid out my, underwear, socks, everything, and then I rolled them up, and then I put them in a bag, and then I had another roll of what I was gonna wear, and I put that in the bag too, and so that was my clothes, and I had my toiletries, which I actually got my hair cut short so I could just take a little comb, so I didn't need a brush. I took 1 bar of soap so that I could wash my teeth, my hair, my clothes, and take a shower with it, and, so there's a science to not taking a bunch of stuff,
Yeah,
and,
there is.
mhm,
There is. I gotta tell you, I'm sitting here, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning into this, she was 69 years old when she did this. She turned 70 on the trip, and that is remarkable that
mm,
that someone can do that. And then you did it again,
yeah, right.
and that's what the second book is going to be about.
Yeah, from Lisbon. My book is Wisdom on the Camino, so I think the next book has to be the Wisdom on the Camino Portuguese, I guess, because I don't wanna have 2 websites.
No, no, well, you can do it and put both books on the same website,
Yeah.
if there is, and I love, the title, and I was gonna ask you about it, so I'll ask you now. It's Wisdom on the Camino. What wisdom did you learn while you were on the trip?
So that's not really what this is about, actually. While Ron was ill, I had kind of a rough childhood, and I had some PTSD, and I had some, real sadness, that I needed to heal. So while I had to be home, right, with Ron, and so while I was home with him, I went online and I studied with many enlightened thought leaders. And I think what I think is like God kept sending me healers. Like there was this guy, Darius Barazunda, and he has speakers on his, I guess it's a podcast. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I would listen, and then he would have healers, and I would maybe buy their program, and then I would do the work, and, then after a while, it wasn't as interesting to me, and so I needed another teacher, and God would send me another one. Like, the first one was, Donna Eden. I did her work, bought her program, did her work, and then there was Rika Zimmerman and Norm Shealy, and I was just doing I bought their program, and I did the work, and, so after, so many years, I felt like I knew some stuff. I had done some healing, and I had some stuff that I wanted to share. And that's why I wanted to write the book. And but then there was me. I didn't want to, I didn't feel like an authority, and um, I didn't want to sound teachy. And so I remembered I told people about all those things on the Camino, and so, I wrote my book about walking the Camino and telling people about those things. So
Oh,
that was the wisdom that I got from when I was taking care of Ron and I was on, the internet.
very, very good. So, what were some of the wisdoms that you gained through working with these various teachers?
One of the wisdoms was, um, you, well, there's the Ho'oponopono, and do you know what that is?
Remind me.
Okay, so it's a Hawaiian healing technique for the family, and it's
Right.
really magical. I think it's magical, mystical maybe, but it will, like, we have binds with other people. We're bound to them to kind of ruin each other's life or help each other out in our life. And people will push our buttons and it hurts us so much. But those people, they're just doing what they're doing. They're not trying to hurt us. We have these buttons inside that we got created when we were children or something. And so when that button gets pushed, we hate that person. They hurt us so deeply. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So anyway, uh the it's a it's a healing technique. Like, it starts out, I love you, and it's I love God, God loves me, God loves the other person loves God. And if you can say it, you say I love them. You can do this with them or you don't have to do it with them. It still works. But anyway, so I love you. I'm sorry. And it's not I'm sorry I did anything, but it's I'm sorry this situation exists. I have a situation with this person, and I'm sorry that it exists. And then it's please forgive me. It's not forgive me because I did anything, but it's forgive me for what's going on in me that caused me to attract this. I have a brokenness in me that was reaching out and grabbed some really sad stuff. And it landed on my button here. So thank you for showing me this so I could heal. Because if I didn't feel this pain in my heart, I couldn't heal it. I wouldn't know it where it is. Now that I know where it is, I can heal it. So thank you
Yes.
for showing me this so I could heal. And then the big I love you again. I love God, God loves me, God loves the other person loves God, and maybe by then you can say I love them. Um, so I shared that with this guy in at this monastery. I was staying at a monastery and they were serving the food and I bought the food. And so I was down in the cafeteria, had this tray of food, and I was trying to figure out where to sit. So I went and sat over by these people. And the guy was from England and he was with a lady from America. She was older than him. But anyway, they were walking together, I guess. They were sitting together. And so I asked him why he came on the Camino, and he said, "Oh, I'm in the military. I had an extra week, and I thought I'd spend it on the Camino." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And he said, "Well, why did you come?" And I told him about my husband and how I had cared for him for 8 years. He was sick for 18 years, but he was totally disabled for 8 years. So I took care of my husband and he passed away, and that's why I came on the Camino. And he said, "Wow, you took care of him all those years. That is amazing." And I said, "Well, yeah, when we got married, I was 20 years old, and I remember thinking, um, I this is not going to be my life anymore. After tomorrow, this is going to be my life with Ron. This is not going to be my life anymore." And I was just totally committed to our marriage and to Ron.
How
And
long were you married overall?
48 years. He couldn't make it to 50.
Oh,
He
so
died at
close.
48.
So close. And then he was healthy for 30 years. And then the last 18 was a progressive decline. But
Absolutely. Yeah, really, it takes a long time to, you know, but whatever.
well, and I think that it's really good the work that you did, and with these leaders and these new thought leaders that you worked with, because
Mhm.
it really did change your perspective on everything, didn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was really a sad person all my life, and
Oh,
I
come
feel
on.
sorry.
You're not sad. You don't
No,
you don't
I'm not.
strike me as being.
I'm fixed, but I think I got fixed. It took a while. Um, but anyway, I have sad thoughts sometimes, and I realize when I have sad thoughts what I'm doing to myself. I didn't realize that before. I would be sad and I would tell people my sad story. And now I realize when you do that, you make it more real than it is. Like, um, yeah, we're namers. As people, we are namers, and if we name our life a sad life, you know, we get to do that. And that's not really what maybe a lot of us want, but that's what we're doing when we tell our sad story over and over again. So now whenever I get a sad thought, when I come to my senses, I'm like, "Oh, geez," and I offer it up to God, uh, just because I don't wanna keep it. I you know?
Well, and what's interesting about that is one of the gifts that we have when we come here is the gift of free will.
Mhm.
And it would be
Absolutely.
nice if we all believed that using that free will for good and to make ourselves be happier would be great. But there are people who use their free will to play the victim.
No, you know what? I just have to say that they just don't know. They don't know what they can have if they give it up. I
That's true.
you know, I used to, I belonged to this prayer group, and I was just so full of my sad story, and because it was true. And this woman said to me, "Why don't you just make up a good story?" And I said, "Well, that wouldn't be true." Like I thought truth was important, but actually what the truth one of the other things I learned was what about the truth is that um truth is fiction because truth is told by somebody. I mean, his reality, we share about it. Like if you talk to I had a horrible childhood. My brother did not. You know what I mean? Of course, my dad didn't molest him, but anyway, uh, he lived in the same house I did. It was a horrible place for me, and he he didn't feel that, you know.
You know what I've learned in my life and talking with a lot of people is that number one, my sister, my brother, and I lived in the same house.
Yeah.
We each had a completely different experience of what living in that house was,
Mhm.
because of who we were. She was the oldest, so she had to take care of the kids, me and my
Right.
brother. My brother was the middle, and so he didn't feel appreciated and got into drugs. I was the kid, the star baseball player and football player and all that kind of stuff. And so growing up years, my perception of that house was completely different than my
Right.
brother's or my sister's, and very similar to the experience that you had,
Yeah. And I
except
have my older
except
brother
yours
had a
was real.
really good experience, and then my 2 younger brothers, I think they were even more abused than I was, and then yeah, so
But we're all, I think, as families go, pretty much we're all dysfunctional. Uh,
yeah.
we've all got all got our issues, and one of the things that we do in life, and in an odd kind of way, it's a gift that your husband gave you when he was sick because it allowed you time to go on this spiritual journey, if you
Yeah.
will, to
Yeah.
learn these things because
Yeah.
that then ultimately helped you live the life that you're leading now, which is really is a blessing.
Thank you, God. Mhm.
So congratulations. You have done a lot. Now tell me about the second trip. Then now that one you completed in a little less time.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get sick. I didn't get as sick. I did get sick a couple times. I mean, I read books. People get sick on the Camino. It just happens. And It was so funny. My doctor gave me these inhalers, and he wanted me to take like 5 inhalers with him, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm hardly taking anything with me." I'm like, "I'm not gonna take 5 inhalers with me," and so I just took, 1, and it was such a blessing because, I took my inhaler to the pharmacy, and they actually replaced it for me.
Oh, cool.
I know. So that was really great. I think they really take care of the pilgrims on the Camino.
Well, it is they recognize, I mean, let's face it, there is, hotels along the way, a lot of them because people need to stay and
Right.
stuff. So it's but it is and it's one of the larger, tourist, attractions and stuff, and it generates a lot of money for them.
Mhm.
So it makes sense for them to take care of you. And also, they recognize that you're there for a specific reason. It may not be the same reasons all the time, but you're there because you wanted to create something that was unique to you.
Yeah, I really got the sense that it was a blessing to help a pilgrim,
Yeah,
that
I believe
they
that. Yeah,
they were blessed to help us.
I think that's probably totally accurate.
I
And
was I was in Burgos, and I was, like, looking around for a laundry, a place to do my clothes, and I was just walking up and down. I asked people, nobody knew, and these 2 women, they came up to me, and they started speaking in Spanish, and I was just like, I thought they wanted me to help them, and I was like, I don't know," and so, uh, one of them said, "What are you looking for?" Like that, and I said, "Oh, mi ropa, lavan something, mi ropa," and they, like, looked at each other and said, "Ropa," and then, the one woman was obviously her mother or something, and so the younger woman took me by the hand and took me over 2 streets and showed me where the laundromat was, and, she left her mother standing there, and, she went in and made sure it was open, and, that was amazing. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that, by the way, did you know Spanish? And is that the predominant language on the trail?
Oh, yeah, it's in Spain. Actually, I live in San Diego right next to Tijuana, Mexico,
Oh, okay.
and
So you have some experience with Spanish.
I took, 2 years in high school and 1 year in college, but you wouldn't know it.
Well, that
I
was a
mean,
little while ago.
when nobody spoke English, I could come up with something, but if other people spoke English, my brain was so lazy, I didn't, couldn't do it.
Well, they have these little translators now. Did you take a
Yeah.
translator with you?
Yeah, I did. Well, I had my iPhone, so it has, Google Translate or something on it, but
Yeah. So, well,
yeah,
good. So, if you were to, by the way, let me do this first. By the way, we're talking with Kathleen,
Donnelly.
Donnelly. Now, is that your maiden name?
Yeah, Kathleen Donnelly, kinda Irish, don't you think?
Oh yeah, good Irish gal you are.
And I
And
married
that
Ron Israel.
and married Ron Israel. So
Uh-huh,
Kathleen Donnelly Israel,
right.
and the name of the book is Wisdom on the Camino, a spiritual journey sharing forgiveness and possibilities to inspire the rest of your life. And you can get it on Kindle, you can get it on paperback, Amazon. They all have it. It was a award-winning book, and you should be very proud of that, by the way.
Thank
And
you. Mhm.
congratulations for that. And you've got a second book coming,
Yeah,
based upon the second um, trip that you took.
yeah,
And
the Camino
it's
Portuguese.
yes, indeed. Are you planning a third, or are you done?
Yeah, there's a trail along the northern coast of Spain, and I would like to do that. Probably when I'm 74, I'll have my 75th birthday on the Camino, I think.
My goodness gracious. Do you feel, is it because there's so many pilgrims there that it's safer to travel by yourself?
I think so, but I do actually have 4, guardian angels that I know personally, so they, come with me, and I'm very happy about that.
Oh, very
Yeah.
good, very good.
Mhm.
Now, did you know their names?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Uh,
are they?
well, let me tell you a little story. My kids were in this group. It was called Soldiers of Mary. This lady in our neighborhood made up this group for the kids and had them come over, say a decade of the rosary, and then they would do a corporal work of mercy for somebody, make a card, take it to the old folks home, stuff like that. But one time I was there just for crowd control, right? And she was had a coloring paper about the guardian angel. You know that picture with a guardian angel and some children walking over a bridge. It's kind of
Yes.
a famous picture. So they were coloring that, and I was coloring too because I'm an artist, right? And so then she said, "Okay, so you can meet your guardian angel. All you have to do is just sit there and think about your guardian angel, and then in your mind, just ask your guardian angel what their name is." So I thought, well, I'd do that, you know. So I just sat there and I asked my guardian angel what their name was, and I got Lunk. And I'm like, what kind of name is that? You know? And then I got this picture in my mind of this giant bouncer type angel, you know, sitting next to me on a bench with his arm around me. And I thought, well, maybe with my life, I do need a bouncer angel, you know? And so that was that year. And then the next year, she did the same thing. And so I asked, okay, what's your name? And I got Mary Bell. And Mary Bell is this little flying around, happy, gregarious angel. And she's just very cute. And, you know, so I thought, well, that's balance between Lunk and Mary Bell. And then, in the neighborhood that I live in, there's lots of canyons. And I love to walk in the evening, but I was just, you know, you smell the skunks, and I'm like, I don't want to meet a skunk.
Right.
So I asked God to send me some angels to protect me while I walked. So I had this image of these two angels with their wings up over me while I'm walking. And the one angel, her name is Aloysia. And I was just like, okay, the image I got was she was wearing these black and red robes. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And then I thought, well, San Diego State's colors are black and red. So, you know, she's probably the San Diego State angel here. And then the other angel was Pio Nomi. And she was wearing this gossamer sage green with purple flowers robe on her. So yeah, I know them. I know what they look like. But it's all in my imagination.
Well, I kind of beg to differ because I think it's more than your imagination. I think
Right. Anyway, I
it's
feel them and I appreciate them, and I was not afraid to go by myself.
that's really cool. And I myself, I have what I call my spirit guides and also guardian angels, and
Oh.
that are bringing me to people like you.
You know their names?
I know one. His name is
Uh-huh.
Benjamin,
Benjamin. Oh, that's nice.
and he kind of leads the entourage of because they're all they've all taken on the challenge of helping me do this and
Ah.
to do the radio show well. And then my challenge back to them is I will have great interviews like we're having with Kathleen, but it's up to you to decide who hears it and when.
Mm.
And
Well,
they figure that out. I don't have to. So it makes it
well,
much easier for me.
that's great.
Yes, indeed. And I have a great time talking to people like you. You are awesome. Um and I really hope that you do well on your next the next book that you're working on, and then the next adventure you're going to go on, and that your health holds up until you're 105 and or 110 or
Yeah, if I
wherever.
stop eating that stuff that's making me, inflamed and stuff, then I think I'll do better.
Well, we all got the food today is not what it once was, I'm afraid.
Yeah. We got to go find the good stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I gotta close the podcast, but first of all, I want to thank you very much for being here. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
that you would like to add to the podcast, or to the show? I'll give you a moment to talk to the audience and give them your thoughts on anything you'd like them to know.
Well, I want to talk about worrying. Worrying is what it is making up a bad story and then believing in it because it's not true. When we're worried about something, maybe we've had like an experience and then we're kind of intent on noticing the bad things that could happen like they did the last time. But the thing is, there's endless possibilities of what could happen. So when we're worried about something or worried for someone, we're actually kind of cursing them and calling on bad juju onto them. And so worrying is like a waste of time and don't do it.
I love that. And what it does is it puts out negative energy
Mhm.
that it can actually be counterproductive. So by
Yeah.
worrying about something, bless it and let it go.
Yeah.
And understand that what is going to happen will happen and good things will generally happen.
Another a really good prayer to say is, "Dear God, please make everything turn out okay." And then you just let God make everything turn out okay.
Yes. And that works as well. Even
Mhm.
if according to our understanding what the outcome is we would perceive as being negative or bad, we don't know because we don't get an opportunity to see the entire picture.
Right.
So we don't see it. So we just that's you've hit upon my favorite word, which is
Mhm.
we just have to trust.
Yeah. And really being Good Friday right now, a lot of times we're living Christ's passion in our life, in our sadness and the things that go wrong. And then we just have to wait for the resurrection and then we will just be happy again. So it's always good to have faith in the resurrection.
Indeed, that's true. I want you to have a wonderful Easter weekend
Yeah, you too.
and
I
to
know you
and
will
to
too.
enjoy yourself. And thank you again for being here. By the way, I haven't mentioned your website yet because I don't have it pulled up.
Yeah, it's
You,
wisdomonthecamino.com.
oh, that was easy.
Yeah, wisdom and yeah, and if you go there, I have a page with all my podcasts so you can listen to them and then there's a place where you can push the button and you can go to Amazon and buy my book. And I just want to tell everybody that there's a gift in my book. And the gift is you can see the pictures while you're reading the book. And so you just go to the page right before the table of contents and it says read this first. And you got to double opt in. I'm sorry, but anyway, that's the way the world is. And then you can get the password and see the pictures while you're reading the book.
Kathleen, I want to thank you again for being here. You're my hero today.
Thank you, Kevin. You're great too.
Well, thank you. And I hope again you have a great holiday weekend, a great Easter weekend, and finish your book and just continue doing what you're doing. You're doing awesomely.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Very good. And if you wait right there, I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we got.